In November 2023, CCTV cameras in a famous hotel captured former Minister of National Economy of Kazakhstan, the 44-year-old Quandyk Bishimbayev, physically assaulting his 31-year-old wife Sultanat Nuknova. The assault was unrelenting and brutal. But later that night, those CCTV footages would be deleted, and Quandyk would claim that his wife got extremely drunk, fell over, and ended her own life by mistake. The problem was that the case was not reported until Sultanat's body had attained rigor mortis. In this video we reveal what really happened that fateful night. Welcome to Creepy True Cases. Take a second to subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Quandyk Valentinovich Bishimbayev was born on the 11th of April 1980 in Kizilorda, Kazakh SSR. He was born into the honorable family of the Deputy of Parliament, by the name Valentin Bishimbayev. Quandyk's mother was Almira Nerly-Bakova, and he was the eldest of two children. Quandyk's mother was a high-profile entrepreneur who owned several big companies in the country. Quandyk's younger sister, Arujin, was 4 years younger than he was, and their parents gave them the best in life. Quandyk acquired a degree in management. He was a recipient of the Presidential Scholarship Program at George Washington University in the U.S., and he also got a PhD in economic sciences in the year 2000. He started his career as a bank manager and quickly progressed to senior positions in large companies. After several years, he became the head of the Ministry of Economy, making him one of the youngest high-profile government officials in Kazakhstan. Cracks began to show in his leadership because 8 months later, he was indicted in a messy bribe scandal and was not only dismissed, but also sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, he was released a year later and placed on parole. He issued an apology to the head of state and received a pardon. Quandyk was married twice before he met the love of his life, who later became his victim. He first married Agarim Rybakova back in 1999, and they both birthed a son named Alexander Valikin. The marriage was dissolved in 2004, and in 2006, Quandyk married another lady named Nazim Kakerman Babagalova. The couple had 3 children together, but after 14 years of marriage the union came to an abrupt end. This was when Sultanat Nuknova came into the picture. Sultanat Nuknova was born on the 15th of May 1992 in Pavlodar, northern Kazakhstan. She was born to Amangeldi Nukhanov and wife, Jumagul. Sultanat, as a little girl, developed an interest in astrology, and soon enough, she began making fairly accurate predictions using horoscopes, charts, and other materials. What started as a hobby soon became a career. She promoted her astrological services online and offered consultations, helping people achieve their long and short-term goals through her abilities. She also gave love advice, tested compatibility, and offered relationship counseling. Her clients were women and young girls. She made a lot of money from her business and was living lavishly. She was followed massively online and had thousands of requests on a daily basis, but one persistent fan came into her life and changed everything. In 2022, Quandyk found Sultanat's page online and became obsessed. For several months he chased and solicited an audience. Knowing fully well that Sultanat only offered her services to women, he couldn't resist her charm and first came through the guise of business. He claimed he needed her skill and advice. She turned him down politely, but he continued to persist. She started by offering him online consultations, but over time he became more obsessive over meeting her physically. He sought information on where she lived, who her parents and friends were, and every other piece of information about her personal life. The two eventually met at a business meeting, and even then, Sultanat told her friends that he wasn't her type and they just weren't a match. Sultanat had expressed that the 12-year difference between her and Quandyk was a thing of concern, and that she was not attracted to him. Her astrological calculations were vehemently against such a union, as they were completely incompatible. However, despite everything she had said, Sultanat's brother found out through one of her news feeds that Quandyk had proposed to her, and she had accepted. This shocked both her family and friends, as this went against everything she told them and every piece of advice she had ever given on relationships. In December 2022, the couple held a luxurious wedding reception after a special rite performed in a mosque. After the wedding, Sultanat began to speak differently of Quandyk. She praised his intellect and even convinced her friends that he wasn't guilty of the corruption crime for which he had been charged earlier. She had everything she ever wanted. Klondike gave her the world and ensured that she didn't have to work a day in her life. She was living a fantasy that every woman wanted, but not for long. The first sign was when Klondike went into a fit of rage at a family event because Sultanat had given an expensive wine to a guest as a return gift, after the guest had given her an expensive gift. Klondike was like an animal without a leash and scattered the banquet table. At some point, Sultanat sent pictures of herself to her brother. In the picture, her face was covered in bruises. Sultanat's brother called Klondike to demand a face-to-face meeting. In the meeting, Klondike was disrespectful and aggressive. He told the brother to mind his own business and did not explain about what had happened. After a while, there were no complaints. The couple seemed to be back in their love season, and would post pictures of themselves all cuddled up on social media. Even though they seemed happy online, Sultanat's family began to notice changes in her. She had lost tremendous weight and had stopped her job completely. She no longer gave consultations. She only published photos of herself and her husband, with captions of how she was such a lucky woman, which seemed forced. It would appear that Klondike had placed restrictions on what she could do and what she couldn't. She was not allowed to work or have a personal life or career. All her income had to come from him. He controlled all her contacts and isolated her from everyone she knew. She later confessed to a close friend of hers in secret that she was being physically abused daily and was forbidden from contacting anyone, including her family. In 2023, Sultanat moved back to her parents' house in an attempt to save her own life, but Klondike followed her there. He begged for another chance, saying that he was a changed man. Sultanat genuinely believed that having a child for Klondike would change his attitude, so they got back together and tried having a child, all to no avail. It wasn't the first time that Sultanat had moved from her husband's house to her family's house. It happened a few times during the marriage, but somehow, Klondike was able to convince her to return home. On November 5th, Sultanat invited her parents to a restaurant to celebrate her reunion with Klondike. He expressed deep and sincere love for her, showing care and behaving unusually nice way. However, his deception came to light when tragedy struck only a few days away. On the 8th of November 2023, the couple had attended a Dima Bilan concert with friends. They began to quarrel during the concert. Their friends assumed that they were just having the usual couple's misunderstanding. They did not know that things were about to get heated. The couple left the concert and went towards the restaurant, and then entered the VIP cabins. CCTV footage showed both of them retiring to a restaurant booth with bottles of wine to get some privacy. According to records, Sultanat had told Klondike that she could not go on and that she wanted to leave the marriage. Klondike Bishimbayev began to threaten and hit her. That was when she called her brother and told him that she was coming over to stay at his place that night, but she never came. The couple continued to quarrel as CCTV picked up disturbing images of physical abuse. Sultanat tried to get away from her oppressor and even locked herself in the toilet at some point, but he forced her to open the door, then he struck her even more. One part of the clip was difficult to understand. It appeared that Sultanat took off her clothes and jewelry, then flushed them down the toilet. The defendant claimed she wanted to prove she didn't need Klondike's money and luxury items, while another version claimed that it was the man who forced her to strip, as a final act of humiliation. Bishimbayev struck her severely on the face with fists, then pushed her like a rag doll. She hit the tile and plumbing in the toilet so hard that it caused serious injuries. Bishimbayev wanted to head home, but he was too drunk to drive, and his wife was also in no state to drive. They couldn't leave the restaurant, but instead of sorting things out, the beating continued through the night until 7 a.m. Sultanat was left on the sofa to sleep, and by noon the next day she was dead. What had seemed like snoring was actually a death rattle. Klondike called his brother, Bekichin Byjanov, who came immediately and helped with clearing staff presence and cleaning up CCTV footage. In court, Bekichin claimed that he deleted the footage because his brother and his wife were drunk and engaged in sexual activities, so he decided to delete the recordings to uphold her honor. Bekichin called an ambulance hours later, when her body was cold and stiff. Both Bekichin and Klondike were arrested by the police. Nazim, ex-wife to Klondike, gave a testimony, saying that he was capable of the crime, and was aggressive and narcissistic when they were married. She also found out that he had several mistresses and was cheating continuously while they were married. He was a sadist who was violent and capitalized on weakness. In Sultanat's case, she was unable to leave and stand her ground. She kept going back to him. This showed how much control he had over her, and he exploited that control whenever he could. The trial began in 2024, and the case was made open for the world to see. Bishimbayev chose a jury trial since he was still on parole for a previous crime. This would ensure that he didn't get a life sentence. During trials, he insisted that Sultanat's death was an accident caused by her own drunkenness. He claimed she fell and hurt herself, but CCTV recordings told a different story. Defense tried to knock the case down to domestic violence, which has a light sentence, but after a public outcry, the justice system reinforced the punishments for domestic violence. On the 13th of May 2024, Klondike Bishimbayev was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to 20 years, as well as 7 years for battery and torture. In total, he received 24 years. His relative, Bakichin Bajanov, was sentenced to 4 years in prison for deleting evidence and harboring. Sultanat's family was disappointed and had hoped for a life sentence. What are your thoughts on the case? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.